So what can fear look like? Fear, and in this context right now, and as I talk through most of the presentation, I'm going to fear is basically going to refer to fear, anxiety, or phobia, okay? Just as a broad term for fear, but we are going to talk about the difference between the three, okay? So what can fear look like in dogs? So fear can look like fidgeting or fawning, which is kind of that belly up dog, the dog who's kind of really fidgety or frenzied, kind of hyper and running all over the place. Maybe you see a dog at the vet's office and your dog runs in and they're just jumping all over everybody. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're happy. You have to look at the full picture and all of their body language. They could actually be kind of in a frenzy or fidgety state. Okay, so these are the 4 F's of fear. So fidgeting, fawning as one, and then flight. A lot of people understand what that means when our dogs are running away, but dogs can also flight and be still. And we'll talk a little bit about that. The freeze, okay, so where they're kind of freezing up, which is kind of like flighting and being still. It's sort of a different way to look at it. So they freeze or they kind of shut down. And then fight. Everyone knows what that is. It's the dog who comes forward towards you or is willing to snap, bite, growl, that sort of stuff to let you know that they're uncomfortable. Okay. So when our dogs are fearful or in some sort of an anxious state and their emotions take over, it's going to look like one of these things. Okay. Always. So we want to make sure that we are aware of what our dog tends to do. And then sometimes, like if they can't flight, that's when they'll put up a fight. Or if the flight doesn't work, they might fight. Okay. So it could change depending on context. All right, so fidgeting, fawning, we're just going to go through these quickly because they are pretty straightforward. So antsy, hyperactive, they can't sit still. Suddenly they're scratching. They're like suddenly itchy. You just asked them to do something, but maybe you said it in a tone that they were a little iffy about, and they're suddenly really itchy. So that can be one thing. Or like biting at their foot, biting at their leg, could be allergies, could also be a little bit of stress. They're very hypervigilant, excessively vocal, lots of barking, and they might be climbing up a person. Okay. And always consider context. So if it feels out of character with odd timing, it's likely fear. Okay. Flight. Okay. Running away, hiding, avoiding being touched, slinking away, walking away slowly, tiptoeing away. Okay. Backing out of a collar. That's why we always want to make sure we have nice, secure collars on our dogs, because if they get fearful of something and they want to try to run away, this is when they do it. And it's very hard to catch them safely once that happens. Okay. Freeze, slow motion movements, low body posture, sudden stillness, tight jaw, rigid or lowered body, avoiding eye contact. Okay. A lot of dogs are read as being fine when they're actually in a freeze state because they're not moving. So therefore people think they're fine, but they may not be. Okay. And then fight, growling, snapping, biting, posturing forward, baring teeth, having a rigid body or a stiff or absent tail wag. So kind of like the tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. That can still be discomfort, fear and discomfort. Wagging a tail does not mean that they're happy necessarily. Fear plus uncertainty equals anxiety. And we can unravel anxiety in our dogs by teaching them what to expect, who they can depend on, and what to do when the unexpected thing happens.